Hey guys, this is Dr. Colin Zhu, and thank you so much for being here with us on the Thrive Bites podcast. This is season 4, and we're so excited for you to be here. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Dr. Colin Zhu, double boarded in family and lifestyle medicine, and I interview the best and most passionate health and wellness experts of the industry on this platform. And we talk about plant-powered living, emotional resilience, and creating a thriving mindset. And this season, we're taking it live, we're taking it on multiple platforms, and we're taking it as a Q&A discussion as well as our interviewing of our guests. So we're super stoked about this, and please remember to like and subscribe down below, and we will see you. Welcome to the next episode.
Wow. I can't believe we're finally here. This is the 100th episode of Thrive Bites podcast, and I couldn't have imagined that more than pretty much 2.5 years ago, since our first episode in May 2019, that we would get here. The Thrive Bites podcast was just an idea. I wanted to narrate, at that time, my audiobook, Thrive Medicine, which was published in 2017. And I didn't have any podcasting experience, never even listened to a podcast episode, and I have no audio or sound engineering skills or experience. I just downloaded an app, and it was a DIY, do-it-yourself podcasting app, and here we are, 100 episodes later. So I could not be more indebted to you, the listeners that want to hear what I have to say. And we're reaching 30,000 total downloads from over 100 countries. And charting internationally in different countries on Apple Podcasts, on health and education, health and wellness, and overall categories. And I couldn't be happier because I really wanted to make an impact and reach others outside my 4 walls. And that's what drives me. That's what's driven me, and that's what continues to drive me. So I want to give a special thank you to all my wonderful guests that has been with me over the 4 seasons. Now we are having it on YouTube as well to bring you a more visual medium. So I hope you have enjoyed the ride so far. I am looking forward to the next 100 episodes. And please tell me what you like, don't like, what you want to see improve, who do you want to see on. And I really, really am very grateful to be able to continue to have conversations with wonderful guests that are passionate, engaging, making it fun, and that are thought leaders, that are experts in the health and wellness industry, and are just super passionate. We're here about creating a thriving mindset, and we want to be able to do that in various diverse and different ways. Thank you, and for celebrating with me on congratulating 100 episodes of the Thrive Bites podcast, and I couldn't be happier. So thank you to you, the listener. And here's to the next 100 episodes. Let's go.
All right. Here we go. 100 episodes. Thank you so much for being here, everyone. Wow, it is nuts. I'm your host, Dr. Colin Zhu, and welcome to the Thrive Bites podcast. And this is number 100th episode of this wonderful, wonderful vehicle. And thank you so much for joining us. Again, you could be anywhere in the world, and you decided to spend a few moments with us. So I really appreciate it. So this episode is all about breaking down barriers, and I could not be more privileged, honored, and just really, really, grateful for our special guest today. Her name, I'm going to introduce you to everyone. Introduce her to you guys. Her name is Gina Su. She is a film actress and indie film producer, and her overall mission is to tell stories that move an audience and create a positive impact on the world. I love it. Her past credits include Camille on the Bold and Beautiful series, regular dubbing for The Stranded on Netflix, and various lead roles in short films like Transpo and SantaCon, The War on Christmas. Gina also wrote, produced, and acted in Blue, which won for Best Drama Short at Hollywood Just for Shorts. And previously, in her previous life, she was a life coach with her own private practice. And she believes in the power of the mind and science-backed positive thinking. And in 2016, she was crowned Miss Asian Global at the international pageant held in historic Herbst Theater in San Francisco. And she's a proud new vegan, and she currently is residing in LA with her vegan fiance, Jeff. And I cannot wait to say hello.
Hi, Colin. Oh my gosh, I just want to say congratulations. Your 100th episode. Like, that's so many interviews, so many good content that you've been sharing with people about a good, healthy lifestyle. You're just like bringing goodness to everyone. So thank you for everything that you're doing.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. And it's kind of mind-boggling, just kind of for those that you've been, following, me on this journey, like 2.5 years almost, 100 countries reached, and just started on a whim. I just wanted to narrate an audiobook and ended up finding a DIY podcast app. And here we are, so it can't be possible without amazing guests like yourself. And I can't, wait, to dig in. So let me start off with this first question. You and I are, really good friends. And, I just, ever since, meeting you, you and your fiance, Jeff, learned a lot. But what I love about hearing your story is all the different hurdles and obstacles and just these, challenges that you have to go through to get to your point. So let's start off with this question. You currently are in the film industry. So what kind of, got you, here? What has motivated and inspired you to, get into the film industry? Was it an arduous process? Was it, and we'll just go from there. So.
Sounds good. You know what? Before I answer that, I realized that I did not tell everyone that Jeff and I are engaged.
Oh, crap.
And so I wanted to tell people in person one at a time, but I wrote that in the bio, and also this is live. So whoever's watching gets the inside scoop. But okay, so getting into my career, I just love theater as a kid. It was just so much fun to hang out with all my best friends in middle school and high school, put together a play, learn lines, help each other create the set, and then friends and family would come and watch. And it made me realize this is like teamwork art making. And I really enjoyed the process. And as I got older, it was like never really a career option for me. I really love dancing. I started out being a competitive dancer. And even that was like anything dance, art, theater related is just a fun side hobby and not a real job. So I went to college, got a normal desk job after that, and just felt like I was missing something. And that's when I moved more into the health and wellness industry and did a fitness-based tech app in San Francisco. And I still felt like I was missing something. So I really found that a lot of my values were aligned when I started life coaching. And it was all about helping people have positive habits and, going for the passions, going for the big dreams and never having any regrets. And I thought, wait, I think there's one person here that's not walking their own talk, and that's me. And I just thought that, if I'm not going to do it now, when am I going to do it? So as I started to get more acting auditions, especially in the commercial market in San Francisco, I started canceling some of my appointments with my coaching clients. And I thought, okay, I'm at a point where maybe this is viable. And I took the big leap over. But all is to say, at the very beginning, the reason why I was so intrigued by TV and film was, I think, because it was my American mentor, meaning, both my parents are immigrants. My dad's from Taiwan. My mom's from Hong Kong. And they call an ABC, an American born Chinese. So I would have Chinese food at home, adhere to Chinese cultural values and only speak Chinese at home. And then when I go out into the real world and to school, I'm speaking English, eating American food, trying to mingle with my friends and fit in. And the thing that really taught me, how to be a kid in America was TV and film.
Yeah.
And to me, that was like empathy on a silver platter that was like, here's how you cry when, people bullet you at school, or when you have unrequited love, or you get to go along the journey with the main character and never feel alone. And I'm like, you know what? I would love to make someone else not feel alone through this teamwork art making industry that is TV and film.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. I mean, a lot of ABCs. I'm a first generation ABC myself.
Yeah.
My mom's from Hong Kong. My dad's from southern China, and me and my sister, we were born and raised in New Jersey. And it was always this feeling of just being on the fence, right? You're on one side, when you're in America, you're too, sometimes can be too Asian, right? And
Yeah.
then when you go overseas, you're too white, you're too American, right?
Yeah.
And so you
Yeah.
really never fit in, like you said, like you kind of just hang on the fence and you're just like peering over on either side. And it's this weird, juxtaposition of, where do I go? And over time, and please, share your experiences of just taking from each side, and realizing that I don't have to really necessarily fit into either here or there. I can just kind of, just make my own path. Right. So, was that
Yeah.
similar, for you? Did you feel like you kind of have to hug, the fence a little bit? Or did you feel
Oh,
like, okay, I'm just going to go for it? And yeah.
no, 100%. I'm with you. When I'm here, um, it's like clearly people are like, "Where are you from?" But when I go to Taiwan or Hong Kong, people will tell my parents like, "You raised your kid in America, didn't you?" And it's like, "Well, where do I belong? Where's my club?"
Yeah.
But still in the film industry, I, still have to do that. Like I'll get breakdowns that, I mean, it's great that they have that now, but it'll clearly say, Asian American is the best friend character, or a different side character, and the lead is either the white or Caucasian character. And it's still, even in the industry, I have to hug that fine line and figure out where I can carve out my own special space. But the good thing about it all is we're playing make believe. And
Hmm.
so if we can make believe a Marvel universe with crazy gems that, can destroy the world, we can also have Asian characters who are the lead, and it has nothing to do with their nationality, or it does, and that's their superpower. And so I'm glad to see more of that happen, so we don't have to code switch so much.
Mm. Yeah, so let's get into that a little bit deeper. What was the beginning process for you? What was the environment like at that time, in
Mm,
terms of, auditioning, for certain roles or commercials or shorts or, long form, just pieces of, what we call art, right? But in
right.
terms of who sets that up, they may like look at it differently. So obviously, in terms of ethnicity, we always have these stereotypes that commonly we just see on the screen. You said that, when you got into it, when you were looking at, in terms of language, how do you express yourself, how do you emote, it was everything on the screen. Growing up, I didn't see that many actors or
No.
actresses that looked like me, right? So what is it like now, or take us a little bit in the beginning of what was that like, in the beginning process, and how has that evolved over time?
Yeah. When I started, everyone was like, "You look like Lucy Liu." And it's like, that's awesome, but she's literally the only Asian actress that's a little bit younger that people could reference to.
Yeah.
So now we have Gemma Chang and Constance Wu and Arden Cho and a lot of other people, which is great. So it really, the landscape is truly changing, which is awesome. I think what we're lacking now is, we talk about this in our kind of Asian American film industry circles, is that we have a lot of talent, which is awesome, but we don't have a lot of people behind the scenes. And if you think about the way a story is crafted from beginning to end, you need someone who has the story, and then you need the writer to write the story, and you need an executive producer or an executive at a network to greenlight it. And then you need people in casting who understand how to cast it, and so on and so forth. So what we need more of is Asian creatives in those fields. There's more Asian writers, Asian casting directors, Asian creative executives, even Asian, people behind the scenes who can kind of translate that, like, this story was written this way, and yes, we're filming it here in America, but there are certain cultural differences that we want to fold into it to make it more authentic. As far as like my personal experience in the casting process and the sides I get, it used to be a lot more of that, like either best friend or the sexy girlfriend or the waitress, some kind of side smaller role. Honestly, in the past couple months, literally after the whole Stop Asian Hate movement, I've read for some awesome, like, big movie lead roles that I have to be careful because I sign NDAs about what I say. But like that travel to they're like American characters that travel to Asia, and they're kind of code switching and figuring out how to live on those lines. Or famous books that are being adapted to screenplays right now that are written by Chinese authors and being picked up by American production companies. So we just, we're lacking that of having origin stories from Asian creatives, but it's starting to grow, and I'm like super optimistic and excited about where it's going.
Yeah, because, as much as we love watching movies and television, there's a whole process, that comes along, from the script and, all these networks and, like you said, people that, green light it to make it happen, right? And I think it's very important to talk about front of the camera and behind the camera, which is interesting because, like, in the culinary world and the healthcare world, we have the front office, the back office. In the culinary world, we have the front of the restaurant, the back of the restaurant, right? So there's like, as an analogy, there's a lot of moving parts to be able to get a certain product or a certain iteration of something. For you, it's could be a film adaptation of a book, or a play, right? And there's just a lot of moving parts, and it's important to have all those different pieces. And if we're talking about Asian representation, it's important because it's important to have, in my opinion, and you can speak to this, is having those lived, experiences, to be able to relate. You know what I'm saying? So, was there?
And I feel like,
go ahead.
No, I was just going to piggyback on that. I feel like there's two camps in terms of types of films that we want to see more of. The ones that are very much like rooted in Asian storytelling, like Minari or Half of It, or what was that? The film that Aquafina was in recently, or even Shang-Chi and Crazy Rich Asians. Like, this is the Asian experience, and this is what it feels and looks like. But then the other camp I think we also need more of is the character just happens to be Asian. She could be super strong or down on her luck or a rebel, but it has nothing to do with her race. She's just another human being. Yeah. And so, like, raising up both of those stories at the same time, I think, is like an integral part of raising awareness for us.
Yeah. And that we could go beyond these, stereotypes and character limitation or boundaries, and to kind of expand upon it. You know what I'm saying? The most recent example I can think of is, obviously the biggest thing was, Shang-Chi, just recently. And the male lead, Simu Liu, I started watching him on Kim's Convenience. And and I was just like, wow, this is an amazing show. It's a Canadian show. And it's just like a normal, I don't know what a normal Canadian family is, but, it was very, it was just a family, going about their daily lives, and they just happened to be Asian. And almost half of the cast was just happened to be Asian, but they were playing, characters and roles that, are very reflective of how we go about, our lives. So it was really nice to see. Whereas, like, for example, like Fresh Off the Boat, I've only seen like a few episodes of it, but they definitely utilize a lot of stereotypes and kind of, poke fun at it. And, it's very satirical in some aspects. And so I know what you're saying. We need, all kinds of roles. So
yeah, just the whole spectrum, the whole variety.
Do you feel like, like the Stop Asian Hate, and everything that has transpired, during the pandemic, it's kind of like an unfortunate, I guess, blessing, in a way, because
Right.
it's definitely brought, the awareness up. Do you feel like things like this, if it weren't for that, would it have gone the same pace in terms of, not having that increased visibility, you think?
I totally think that without it, this whole process would have been a little bit slower. I
Mm,
think having it was kind of like a cultural revolution of what it was like to be Asian American, what our experience is like. It even made me reflect on the type of roles I want to go for or the type of roles I want to create in my indie film production world. And yeah, it raises awareness. And also, I think with the fact that Crazy Rich Asians came out and it made so much money and there was such a big audience for it, people realize, oh, this is a good, business strategy. But after Stop Asian Hate happened, it's also like, this is also a social justice issue that we need
mhm,
to portray Asians correctly and authentically in media because all of that seeps into people's minds and the stereotypes that most people have you just get from your community and what you watch. And
mhm,
so because that happened, it's clear that there's more that needs to be done and more representation needs to happen on screen.
mhm, mhm. Definitely. What are I guess if you have any examples of experiences that you faced, in terms of like, different forms of like racism or stereotypes or misconceptions, what were some things that you had to kind of go through to kind of hurdle over, when you were traversing, your film career thus far?
Yeah, there's a handful. Actually, there was one even I think about 3 weeks ago. It was for a commercial audition and it said we get these breakdowns when we receive auditions and it just describes the character. Sometimes it'll be like woman, 20s, playful, upper class, whatever, has some spunk. The one I got said Asian American, 20s to 30s, beautiful, exotic. And that in our day and age is like not a word you use anymore because one, it's kind of it's almost incorrect. There's more Asian people than Caucasian people and white people in the world. So technically, they're more exotic than we are. So the way you word things really makes a big difference. But that just like adds to the whole, unfortunately for Asian women, there's a whole sexual connotation to how we're perceived on screen. And I got this 3 weeks ago. So it's kind of frustrating and it's saddening that they're going to cast someone else. I turned it down, but someone else might do it because we have so little opportunities. I've also had a parent of a young actress come up to me and she's like, "Wow, you have such a great look. You have such a great look. I feel like you're gonna make it. You're like in a good position." And I was like, "Wow, I'll take that as a compliment." Like I, like to work out. I stay healthy. I'm vegan. Working on, clearing my skin and doing the best I can in acting. And then she came back again and she's like, I'm worried about my daughter because she's white and you have the look that's in right now. And I'm afraid she's not going to have enough opportunity. And I see where she's coming from, but it's really from a place of miseducation because if I could trade roles with any other white actor, I would because their opportunities are so many times, more abundant than ours. So it's great to be in quote unquote, as she said, but that's not what it looks like in reality, the type of roles that we actually get.
Yeah, yeah. Going back first to the word that you're using, exotic, it makes me think of
Mm,
how we used to use the word Oriental, right?
right,
And
right.
I was like, there was back in the day in college, we had, did you eat ramen noodles? Like the couple
Oh,
noodles, like
hell
back in
yeah.
the day.
Yeah.
Do you remember the flavor? I don't know if you ever came across this, but there was one
It
time I
said Oriental flavor,
Oriental.
right?
Yeah, it said Oriental. I was like,
Yeah.
did you throw a brother in there? Like, or
Yeah.
did you throw a rug in there? Like, what the
Yes.
hell is this?
Oh
Like,
my
what is
goodness.
this? What does this signify? And so, like, yes, it's we're using words like that. You know, we're just yeah, we're just people. You know what I'm saying? We're just
Yeah.
people from a different background, you know, and, you know, we're just here. We want to be able to, you know, create our craft, share with the world, you know, and just do good at the end of the day, you know, or just have some sort of impact and contribution. You know, for you, it's that artistic, creative expression, right? It's to be able to play all these beautiful roles, no matter what shade or color they are, and to be able to elevate that character and to you know, show to people like, hey, you know, I enjoy this because I like to creatively express myself in this manner, right? And that can happen in all forms, right? So but yeah, in terms of that Caucasian woman, in terms of what was it, her daughter,
Yeah.
she said?
Yeah, yeah, she's advocating for her daughter.
Yeah, yeah. So that's really interesting. Switching gears a little bit, what was it like for your family and friends in terms of you know, did they have any like reservations or hesitations in terms of like when you switch from, you know, life coaching to you know, because I both roles is not really in the lexicon of
Nope.
an Asian's like career, like an
I
Asian's
went off
career
the
path.
rails.
Yeah, the Asian's career path is either like an Asian, a lawyer, or a doctor, right? Or an engineer,
Yeah.
right? An engineer, right? So it's neither of those. So like, what was that like? You know?
You know, I'm lucky that 2 of my high school best friends are in this industry. You know, one does voiceover, the other got acting jobs on TV long before I did, and so they all understand the struggle. And my friends now are from my acting class, who we've worked together on projects before, so we all know, like, "Oh, you know, you spent all this time on this audition." Like, we all know how it goes and what the struggle is like and all the rejection is like. So I'm grateful for that. My fiancé, Jeff, is like the world's best human, in my opinion. He will literally drop his work and read with me for hours to memorize my script or make good actor choices in a scene. So he's great. On the family front, it's like hit or miss. I have to say that they've always supported the arts for me when I was younger. You know, dance and going to art class, and even fashion school was supported, but as hobbies, not as a career. And now that I've finally decided to do it as a career, I think they understand, like, wow, Gina's not giving up this art thing. So I guess it's just going to happen for a while. Um, but there are difficult moments when, you know, I'll come home and be like, I got a call back. And in our industry, that's like equivalent to say like getting a promotion or a raise at your normal job, but maybe even a little bit more rare than that. So I'll come home and be like, I
Mm,
got a call back. And it'll be like open eyes, blinky blink. I don't know what that is. How was your dentist appointment? You know? And so it's like they have financially and emotionally supported me, but there's so much about the industry that they don't understand.
yeah.
And they very much think it's very risky. But statistically speaking, you can win the lottery. Your chances of winning the lottery are higher than becoming like an A-list actor.
Mm,
So there is also that, but also there's a world of tons of actors who you might not know their name, but like you've seen them on multiple TV shows, or you
yeah.
don't recognize their face, but they're working full time and making a great living, playing different guest star characters on multiple TV shows and movies. So there's a whole other world out there that's probably, it'd be too long to explain. And so I just stick to my path and hope that they'll root for me till the end.
Yeah, or there's, you know, Trailblazers. I am blank. You can help me with this, but I am blanking on his
You're
name. He has probably one of the most credits, like film credits to his name, and he's Asian. I forget his name. Oh,
Oh,
um,
I must
he
know
was just,
about this
yeah,
person too.
he was just featured not too long ago, but he has one of the longest, you know, longest film credits, but
That's
mostly
incredible.
behind the scenes supporting roles. just short roles, and he's definitely a trailblazer. I will definitely, put that in the show notes later
Okay.
on. So I would love to show the audience. You gave me a demo reel showing a little bit of your work. So I definitely want to show that for the audience, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, sure.
All right. So let's set this up.
And then after that, after being red, it like totally turned white and then turned orange and... Mom, would you just say something, please? Dad?
We sent you to college, which you quit.
Leave of absence to figure shit out?
Source Water didn't become the largest clean water charity in the world by me being shy about asking for what we need. Even though I know about your little diplomatic indiscretion. I make it my business to know everything about the people I invite into my home, Mr. Astor. The details would make even you blush.
Oh my God!
The fuck is wrong with you?
I'm sorry,
There is no time for elvish cheer, okay? You are harnessed into the sleigh. To them, you're merely obedient reindeer in a sea of red and white. I'm Stella.
Nikki.
Margot told me they'd refresh me. What are you doing?
Getting out of the car.
No, you stay here. Watch the car.
Where are you going?
I'm going after that prototype. And don't touch anything.
All right, so let's transition a little bit and switch gears. Let me put on a comment. This is actually my sister.
Yeah, Dominica.
Shout out to her.
See, that's supportive Asian family right there.
There you go. I love it. So let's talk about your transition to becoming a vegan. What was the story behind that? I know, right? It's like
I love this
stuff,
topic.
Right? What is the story behind that? What inspired you? Like, was it the food? Was it animal welfare? Was it environmentalism? Or a combination of all that? Like, what was it about that drove you to adapt that into a lifestyle for yourself with your fiance?
Yeah, absolutely. Health and wellness was always a big part of my life. I think being a competitive dancer, it was like your body needs to be in shape. You need to be able to put it through hours of training and stretching and be able to bring it when you perform without injuring yourself. So that was always part of, my lifestyle. And as I got into it, I think what started it off is I did no beef January. It's this thing I came up with myself. I was like, the environment needs our help, so I'm going to do something. And because, I realized that factory farming and mostly beef makes a huge difference in our environmental impact, I was like, let me just try 1 month without it. And it was great. And it was super easy. And for anyone that's new or in transition or thinking you might not be able to do it, I will tell you my favorite dish was like a ribeye steak grilled on a cast iron skillet. And still to this day, I'm like, oh, that might be tasty. But when you learn more about how it's affecting your body, how it's affecting the environment, and how disconnected we are with the animals that have to be killed to be turned into just a meal, it just makes a big difference with how aligned I feel with myself and what my own values are. So after No Beef January, actually the pandemic hit, and Jeff, my fiance, and I were stuck in our place like everybody else was. So we watched Game Changers, which is an awesome documentary that talks a lot about how gold medalist Olympic athletes have all gone vegan. Not all, but a lot of the top ones have gone vegan to help with faster athletic recovery and to give them that extra percentage of edge that would help them win the gold medal. Jeff is a martial arts champion. He's all about fitness. He does a lot of CrossFit. And when he, was exposed to the real statistics and science-backed research about what veganism does to your body. He was like, let's try it. So through the whole pandemic, we're like, okay, let's try it. And we have not stopped since because it just feels great. I feel good about the environment. You know, I have pets and I used to call myself an animal lover. And now I'm like, this is a whole different ball game. If you want to feel so aligned with your values, becoming vegan makes such a big difference.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we could just talk a whole episode just on, like what it can do. I mean, we have a lot of episodes that talk about the evidence, the science. I think environmentalism is a good, not just animal welfare, but just, really speaking more about, because I really feel like as Western, civilized societies, we're very, 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 very far away from things that are actually happen. And I think that what contributes to our growing climate change issue globally, right? Because we're just so far away from the actual source of problem. And I share with you, like I'm a scuba diver and I've been certified since college. And honestly, it was really one of my first experiences. I was diving the Great Barrier Reef off of Queensland, Australia, and one of my dreams to go there. And when I got there, I realized that pretty much I learned that 30%, you're talking about a reef, a coral reef that stretches literally almost the entire east coast of the United States. That's how large that reef is. And to hear and learn about that almost 30% of it has been destroyed or bleached was really disheartening. But using, my senses and being able to just basically, dive and swim through like essentially a graveyard it was heartbreaking. And it was my first experience of climate change, and that's where I got more into connecting the dots. And I feel like, the documentaries that you've been watching, just people need to kind of get into it a little bit more. We talk a lot about nutrition, the quality of it, but environmentalism, that needs to be sped up a lot sooner.
Totally. I had a very similar experience. My family took me to Antarctica and we went on like this scientific cruise expedition, and they take you hiking, literally into like the Antarctic mountains. And they could, point out, a couple years ago when we did this, the mountain was here. And during the cruise, when you're traveling, they'll also show you all their the research that they've done, and they'll take this pole and put it into the ice and like take a whole sample, and you can like visibly see that it gets like dirtier. And the quality decreases over time as the new snow falls at the top, whereas the ones from like hundreds of years ago down at the bottom was clear and fresh and drinkable. And it's just, when you see it with your own eyes, you're like, this is so obvious. And it's like looming on our human society. Like we have to do something.
Yeah. And it's definitely increasing awareness wherever we go. So let's get more into that. What was it like? A question I have is, knowing what you know now, right? And if you, what would you would like to know sooner in terms of, your, vegan, plant-based, transition? Like, what are some like tips that you could offer to newcomers or people who are just kind of like, thinking about, curious, on the cusp, what would you share with them?
Totally. I think it's kind of the mindset in which I looked at it before, when veganism like was not on my radar at all. The way I thought about it was like, why would you deprive yourself of like good food? Like it came from a place of scarcity. Like if I want to be vegan, I have to not eat this, not eat that, stay away from this. It like felt like it was coming from like a fear-based approach. But when I started becoming vegan, it's like, if you learn about the impacts of the environment, your own body, animals, then you realize everything, I am doing this for the environment. I am doing this for my body. I am doing this for the people around me. And it went the same for how I ate. So a good tip I like to tell people is just have more of the good and less of the bad. I think all of us know what good and bad food is, right? Like, fast food, processed food, lots of sugar, all that is like bad for you. Fruits and veggies are good for you. So when you know that, just have more of the good, and then you'll be just too full and full of vivacious, medicinal foods to fit any bad foods in your life. But then when you go on this journey and you start to do more research, you realize meat kind of goes into the bad category. And even certain processed vegan foods kind of fits in that bad category. And the more you get educated, you just fill yourself with more of the good that you know in that moment, and then you'll have less of the bad, and you'll like feel fantastic, which is the best part.
Do
Yeah.
you and Jeff ever have like urges or cravings, and how do you, I guess, circumvent that, right? Like, do you have any like, do you stock up on your own pantry of this, or you make sure you have that, or like, how do you circumvent, I guess, I mean, do you even have cravings or urges at this point?
Yeah, I think one thing, because we're kind of more new in our transit, we're like a year and a half, almost 2 years in. So I'm trying to get to where you are, which is like whole food, plant-based. Like starting to think about cooking with less oil is like the next level for me. But for people who are more at the beginning stages of it, I think for us, we just let ourselves have like, vegan cheeses, and you go to a restaurant with your friends and they don't have too many other options. Just if you gotta eat the French fry and salad, like you just enjoy that without much guilt. I think the more you beat yourself up over the process, the less fun it becomes. So we had vegan dim sum, we had vegan burgers, like I still want to try this vegan sashimi thing. Like, I don't
Oh, okay.
yeah, they made vegan salmon sashimi. Honestly, all that stuff is processed. So that's a
Yeah.
different journey that I'm going down now. But when you're just starting, it's just best to have fun with it and get creative, and like vegan banana bread, vegan pancakes, whatever you want to make, just to start it off and enjoy it. And it'll last so much longer as a habit change. What you were asking about for cravings, my mom asked me, she's like, what's the one meal you would eat? And I thought about it. I'm like, probably like a traditional celebratory Peking duck,
Oh my
with
God.
the crispy skin.
Yeah.
And we went to a Chinese, kind of banquety dinner, and they had Peking duck, and I literally stared at it and was like, I'm gonna feel sluggish later. It adds to, horrible diseases. Like I can see the duck's head on the table and just the environment, and then everything flashes through your mind, and you're like, this broccoli looks delicious. And it just becomes easy, yeah, and fun.
Yeah, of course. And the thing is that, for me, like I promote progress. I promote
Yeah.
1% better than yesterday. I don't point fingers to people. I don't, strive for perfection. It's really about, and it's an individual journey, right? Like you're gonna feel different. It may be, different than someone else's different, right? Like someone might have bloating. Some people might have, maybe they're just curled up, on the bed, or, some people, it's different for different people. So it definitely
Yeah.
encourages you to kind of look at your own body awareness, look at
Yeah.
macroscopically, what's going on, not just internally, but like, at the end of the day, I know we had a very tumultuous, like political, past couple of years, but it's, seen. But if you think about it, it's like what you put in your mouth, what you decide to purchase is essentially a vote in
Very much
terms of
so.
in terms of what you're saying to that company or restaurant, that you want more of or less of,
Yeah.
is really about whether you choose to get it or not get it, right?
Yeah.
So it's, we have the power. It's not, the food industry is very large, has deep pockets, but at the end of the day, the buck stops with us. You know what I'm saying? And hopefully a live buck.
Yeah. Yeah.
Stops with us.
Yeah.
So this has been great. I definitely want to close out. I have a couple of questions I want to ask. Is, this episode is about breaking down barriers, right?
Mm.
So everything that you've gone on in your personal, professional life, what are those, what does that mean to you? What does breaking down barriers mean to you? And, what would you say would be like your top three in terms of how you would, give to someone else? Like, this is what I've learned. Here are my top three. So you don't have to necessarily go through what I had to go through. And it doesn't have to be necessarily, for film, but, it could.
Yeah, sure. Um, I'm just thinking about it now. The breaking down barriers piece, it actually is me breaking down my own barriers, I think. Doing an industry that's not really encouraged in probably an Asian American immigrant family was more about me sticking to my own guns for like what I want out of my own life. What kind of like artistic expression do I want to be able to foster and give to others? And I love rules. I always did well in school because of rules, but a lot of the rules I created for myself was based off of society and what I thought was right. But if you think about it, like when you ask people like what's your version of success, everyone's is different. So I think if you follow your own, you'll always be breaking someone else's. So I think my breaking down barriers is literally sticking to my own, which could be breaking 100 ABC cultural rules. Um, uh, and it just feels more aligned with what I hope to do in life. And also, I think if you think about your own life in 10 years from now and look back and wonder if you'll have any regrets, if you say, I don't have any, I think that's the best barrier you can break for yourself, is making sure you're pushing yourself to that limit every day so you never look back and say, I wish I should have, I could have. As far as things for people to do to thrive, I think find your community, find your family, your own created family. If you have good emotional support, I think you can do anything. And I'm sure people have also heard of like your circle of five, like the top 5 people you spend the most time with can impact your life. Come to think of it, this Saturday, all 5 of us are vegan and we're going to the Vegan Dale Festival. And I'm like, I love these people. Like if I surround myself with people like you who are like spreading health and wellness, and my friend who's in the entertainment industry, and Jeff who's like, creating diversity in his line of work, like we are like all superhumans, and the more that we can surround ourselves with those people, the better. So that would be 1. 2, I picked this up from living in Hawaii for a year. Get out in nature. It is like scientifically proven that you will feel better. Like sometimes I have this small patch of grass outside. If I just sit in it, I'm like, I feel instantly better. Take off your shoes and just like touch the ground. Like,
well, grounding is a thing, so
it is. It totally is. And nature has better air, better water. It'll rejuvenate your soul, and it's best to take a break from everything you do so you don't burn out. And I think the last thing I'd say is being optimistic and living life with a lot of joy. It is also scientifically proven that if you are more optimistic, you'll have a better financial future. You're less likely to have divorce. You'll be more satisfied with your career, and you're healthier and live longer. It's crazy that a piece of mindset can make such a difference on your life. And I think it also promotes more joy. Like every day, if you're like hopeful that the next thing will work out for you, there's a small part of manifesting it, but also just believing in yourself and that like, hey, I get to live today and put my feet on the ground of this beautiful earth. How epic and fun. Like what a great place to live every day from.
Yeah, for sure. That was beautiful. That definitely definitely is a good, wrap up to everything. And, even just reflecting on this pandemic, it's super, super, super easy to really get down and be negative about it. And I mean, I definitely admit, I've definitely had my own roller coaster ride of emotions, and,
Me too.
it definitely been, tough. And I think, adding to what you're saying, without that support, whether it's family or friends, whether it's in person or remotely, I know, not everyone can be with their family. I know not everyone could be with a significant other. Some of us are sequestered by ourselves, things like that.
Right.
It's important. It's important. And we talk a lot about, part of this podcast is to talk about, emotional resilience, right? So, but I love what you're saying about being optimistic and really just finding the silver lining. It creates opportunities, for you, we were just talking about how, in a way, it just kind of kickstarted, really bringing, Asians front of the camera and behind the camera, more to the limelight, right? So, so there's a lot of silver linings if you are, I would say, if you are willing to look for it. I think it really takes the effort of looking for it. And, when you don't have that energy to look for it, you could easily just fall into a trap of like the victim mentality. Is like, why is this going on with me? Why is the world going on like this? And that's not what we want. We want to be able to foster a thriving mindset. That's what we're here and what we're all about, because at the end of the day, it's life is beautiful, even though it may seem dark at times, but life is beautiful. So
yeah, I'm really glad you brought that up, because it's not to say hard times will happen and we'll have all these moments where like, I don't know how I'm gonna get out of this, emotionally, financially, whatever it is. But in those moments when you pick up little habitual changes, even the habit of realizing I've been in a hole before and I got out of it, and I'm in a hole now, so it must mean I might be able to get out of it. And just like switching little things like that and finding more hope, I think just creates for a better life, and is not at all to say that we should never have challenges or dark times or difficulties, because that's the thing we need to show us that we can have good times. So we definitely need both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or else, how will we grow if we didn't have those lessons, to, have those lessons from those experiences that have been hard for us. So, Gina, thank you so much. This has been amazing. Thank you so much for doing what you're doing, for being who you are, for putting, that goodness, out into the world. I really appreciate, you taking some time to share with us, your experiences, and making, this an episode to be memorable for. And, if people wanted to reach out to you or find you on social media, do you have anything to share with us?
Yeah, sure. I am at Miss Gina Su on all my social handles. So it would be at MISSGINASU. And otherwise, they could just go to my website, which is ginasu.com, and you'll see all the other links to everything else there. But I also want to say, Colin, thank you so much for having me for your 100th episode. I feel super honored and like excited for you. And we have so much to catch up on, your trip to Hawaii. But I think it's so cool that you're doing this and spreading the love, spreading the health and wellness, like helping people feel less alone with all the research and interviews you do. So I'm grateful for you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much. So, guys, thank you so much for watching this special episode. Please find us in a few hours. Actually, we're going to have another episode coming on. We have a great guest coming on, and we'll be back next week around the 5 o'clock hour Pacific. But until then, please say goodbye to Miss Gina, and we will see you on the next one.
Thank you.
Guys, thank you so much for watching that episode. We hope you enjoy it. And please remember to like and subscribe down below so you can get continuous updates for future episodes and future guests. And we can't wait for this upcoming season. So don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will see you on the next